This is the picnic carrier project, and we're going to start off just by putting the layers together. So to start everything off, you are going to need a piece of batting, the same size as the 2 pieces of fabric that you've got. And the order you're going to lay them up in is batting first, then either piece, and then the other one on top. So you're essentially creating a 3-layer sandwich like that. Now, in the middle of this sandwich somewhere, you're going to have to put your loops, which are going to hold the whole thing together when you're finished. So I'm just going to move the camera. So I've gone much tighter in on one of these corners, and this is the example of how you need to put it together. Because if you just fold, which is really tempting, fold it in half and pop it on that corner and sew round, what you're actually doing is you're sewing a kind of a V into there the wrong way around. So to stop that happening and to stop your tab buckling when you turn it right side out, this is the best way to do it. So you're sewing a flat side onto here. You need to leave at least 1/4 inch each side so you can turn it without it kind of crossing into each other. And the way you're going to add these, I'll just unpin this one and we'll repin it in so you can see. So I'm going to take one side, make sure it's at least 1/4 inch, but ideally about 1/2 inch from that side, and then pop a pin in to hold that in place. And then I'm going to fold it across, and then I'm going to fold it back under on itself to keep the fabric of that tie nice and flat, and then move it back across. And so I'm creating a little square on this corner, so the distance from here to here is the same as the distance from here to here. And then I'm going to pin that one in place as well. Once I've got all 4 of these in place, then I'm going to take my top layer and put it on the top, and then what I'll do is just put second pins in there and then remove my first ones just to make sure that I've got everything layered up nicely. Now you'll notice on the project there are 3 that are this size, and there is 1 which is much longer, and that's going to be your carrying strap. Now with this one it goes in exactly the same way, so if I just pull this shorter one out, I'll show you exactly the same principle but with the longer one. So about 1/2 inch from that edge, pop that in, and then although it's longer, I'm going to do exactly the same thing, just keeping it nice and flat, taking all of those kind of twists and turns out. So now it's nice and flat. I'm going to come from here, I'm going to take it across, take it back under on itself. So I've created that nice kind of flat turn, and then I'm just going to slide this back. Now I know it's flat and in the right position. Take all of those wrinkles out. Allow it not to twist on me. And then when I've got that edge, I'm going to pin that in place. And with the larger one, you can actually take all of this into the center out of the way to keep it right out of the way of where you're stitching. But what I would advise is just putting a holding pin or a tacking stitch in there just to keep those nice and square so they don't slide off and move while you're sewing. So I'm going to go ahead, pin all those in place, layer this up, and then I'll take the sewing machine. I've been to the sewing machine and I've sewn all the way around this outer edge, and I've left a gap on that side there just to be able to turn it right side out. The last job before you do turn it right side out is just to clip these corners off. Now I have double clipped all these corners, and by that I mean I've done one from that side off to there, and then another one on the other side. And what that does is, rather than having all that bulk on the corners, it really just reduces it by quite a lot for you, so it's a lot easier to fold out and to top stitch once you've got it all in place. So now I'm going to quickly flip this right side out. And once you've got it the right way out, you're going to want to take it to the ironing board and give it a quick press. Now with this project, I would definitely recommend top stitching round all of this outer edge. That's going to do 2 things for you. You see how nice those corners are now, and that can still come out a little bit further, but they're really nice, and you've got that nice kind of loop to be able to attach the rest of your pieces to, which we'll show you the final bit in just a second. Let's get all of these corners out. There you go, 2, 3, there we go, 1, 2, 3, 4. and there you've got, you'll notice you've got 3 smaller ones and then 1 long one. And the way that this is going to go together once you've finished is you're going to put your treats in the centre. You can either have it sweet side out or savoury side out. It's completely reversible. And you're going to take this, you're going to loop it through the other side, and then that starts to create the piece in the centre. Then you can loop it into this one, which will help close it up, and then your final one, which will then give you your picnic carrier, complete with its handle. But to make this sit a bit more nicely, because you can see at the minute, yes, it hasn't been pressed, but it still is a bit baggy. So what I would definitely recommend is, first of all, top stitching all the way around that outer edge. And then I would definitely recommend putting a bit of quilting onto this. So you can, let's get this pattern. I don't know if there is a right word for this pattern, but we'll turn it around the other way. What I would either recommend is, if you want to just do straight lines, diagonal lines, that's all fine. Or if you wanted to be really fancy, then you could go around some of those little Cornish pasties on that side. It's up to you how you want to quilt it. But what I'm going to do next, I'm going to take it over to the ironing board and get this pressed. Once I've pressed it, then I'm going to come back and just give these a little top stitch all the way around that corner. That'll really kind of sharpen up those edges, and it will also help close the gap where we've turned it right side out there. The picnic carrier is now complete. I did exactly what I said I was going to do. I've run a little line of top stitching around the edge. That's just to secure everything and close that little gap that we had for turning right side out. And then I've gone and pressed these nice and flat, so you can see I've got those nice flat corners on the pickups. Now this is designed to fit, sorry there's no pie in it, but they're either a pie or a selection of treats in there. And then what you're going to do is bring each of those sides up in turn and take the longest side through them, and that is going to create your picnic carrier ready to go.